Good day and good night. Welcome to the High and Low Retrospective, where we press rewind and ride back into the stories that roared louder than their engines, stories that didn't just define a moment in TV history, but reshaped the road ahead. And today we're diving headfirst into the dark, leather-clad outlaw world of FX's Sons of Anarchy, a show that arrived during television's golden era of anti-heroes and still managed to carve out its own blood-stained path. This wasn't just another crime drama. This was Hamlet on Harleys, Shakespeare on two wheels, laced with loyalty, betrayal, and family, both the kind you're born into and the kind you die for. Sons of Anarchy premiered in 2008. The TV landscape was already crowded with brooding, morally complex male leads. The Sopranos had wrapped the year before. Breaking Bad was entering its second season. Mad Men was redefining prestige drama on AMC. Meanwhile, FX had already proven itself as a playground for edgy storytelling thanks to The Shield and Rescue Me. But Sons of Anarchy did something different. It tapped into a subculture rarely explored on mainstream TV, the Outlaw Motorcycle Club. And it placed viewers inside a brotherhood that operated by its own code. It was raw, it was violent, poetic, and for 7 seasons, utterly gripping. Set in the fictional town of Charming, California, Sons of Anarchy followed Jax Teller, the conflicted heir to the SAMCRO Motorcycle Club. Now, SAMCRO stands for Sons of Anarchy Motorcycle Club Redwood Original. Yes. So the club dabbled in gun running, drug wars, and backroom politics, but at its core, it was about family, keeping it together, tearing it apart, and questioning the cost of loyalty. Created by Sutter, who previously wrote on The Shield, the series wasn't just influenced by crime dramas. It was Shakespearean at its roots. Hamlet was the blueprint. Jax was the prince grappling with his father's legacy. His mother Gemma was Gertrude in black leather. And Clay, the ruthless stepfather, was a modern Claudius. The result? A story that blurred the lines between heroism and villainy, laced with betrayal, revenge, and redemption, riding full throttle into chaos. At the center of it all was Charlie Hunnam as Jax Teller. With his California surfer looks and British-born intensity, Hunnam gave the character a soulful weight. Jax was a thinker with a trigger finger, a revolutionary with a Reaper tattoo. Opposite him, Katie Seagal as Gemma Teller-Morrow delivered one of the most iconic performances in television, a matriarch, a manipulator, a protector. Her performance earned her a Golden Globe, and rightfully so. Ron Perlman brought power and menace as Clay Morrow. Theo Rossi, Kim Coates, Tommy Flanagan, and Ryan Hurst filled out the club's inner circle with unique shades of loyalty and violence. And then there was Taylor Sheridan. Before he created Yellowstone, Sicario, and Hell or High Water, loved that movie, he played Deputy David Hale on Sons of Anarchy. It's wild to think how much the world of prestige drama owes to Sons, not just on the screen but behind the scenes. The cast became a brotherhood both on and off camera, and that energy translated into the series' most intense scenes, and you could feel it.
Look where we are, Jax. What we've all become. This has to end here. I know.
At a time when Tony Soprano was still lingering in the cultural ether and Walter White was transforming into Heisenberg, Jax Teller offered a different flavor of antihero, one equally magnetic but grounded in a different kind of mythos. He wasn't a mob boss or a chemistry teacher turned kingpin. Jax was an outlaw prince born into chaos, trying to steer a crumbling empire with nothing but his father's journal and a battered moral compass. What set Jax apart was the tension between who he was and who he wanted to be. He quoted The Art of War, rode a Harley like it was an extension of his soul, and carried the burden of legacy on his shoulders like a leather cut he couldn't take off. His charm made you root for him, even when his choices turned darker. You saw the weight in his eyes, the violence, the loss, the pull of blood and brotherhood, and it made him feel real, even as the body count climbed. In a golden age of television ruled by complex men, Jax Teller didn't just hold his own, he stood as a uniquely American tragedy full of contradictions, heartbreak, and fire.
I love you, Jackson. From the deepest, purest part of my heart. You have to do this till we are, sweetheart.
Critics were initially mixed on Sons of Anarchy, especially in its first season, but the show grew darker, bolder, and more ambitious, and so did the reviews. By seasons 4 and 5, it had become FX's highest rated show, pulling in more viewers than Justified or even American Horror Story at the time. The show built a massive fan base, partly because it treated its audience with respect. It didn't spoon feed, it didn't pull punches, and it never gave easy answers. Each season upped the stakes: murders, betrayals, interclub wars, political alliances, and yet at its core, it always came back to Jax trying to be a better man in a world that wouldn't let him. The series wrapped after 7 seasons in 2014, not because it was canceled, but because Kurt Sutter had always envisioned Sons of Anarchy as a complete story. It ended on his terms, with a finale that was as poetic as it was tragic. Charlie Hunnam, for his part, stepped away from television to pursue a film career, appearing in Pacific Rim, The Lost City of Z, and King Arthur. Other cast members thrived. Katie Seagal returned to sitcoms, while Kim Coates and Theo Rossi became genre regulars. And Taylor Sheridan, remember him? He took the grit and complexity of Sons of Anarchy and used it as a springboard to build an empire. Yellowstone, Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King, they all bear the mark of his storytelling DNA, first sharpened in charming California. Sons of Anarchy isn't just a biker show. It's a meditation on fatherhood, brotherhood, and the American outlaw myth. It paved the way for darker, more complex network dramas, and it left a legacy that still echoes through series like Mayans MC, its official spin-off, Yellowstone, and even Peaky Blinders. It showed that masculinity could be brutal but also vulnerable, that loyalty can be a prison, and that sometimes the most dangerous place to be is between a man and his legacy. It didn't win many awards, but it won the hearts of many, and in the end, that's what gave the show its enduring engine. So that's the High and Low Retrospective on Sons of Anarchy, a show that roared onto screens with leather and blood, told a story soaked in tragedy and grit, and gave us one of the most memorable anti-heroes in television. If you haven't taken that ride, or if it's been a while, rev up that engine and head back to charming. Thanks in advance for liking, commenting, subscribing, and riding with us again for more deep dives into the stories that define generations. Until next time, stay curious, stay rebellious, and remember,
we decide our fate.